Good evening and welcome to our BMW world. It's a real pleasure to have you here. All of these words are illustrated here. We've seen the change of color, right? We've seen the waterproof fabric. And the second skin is something that is being developed right now as a smart system that can enhance what your own skin and your own body, what's below the skin, is able to do, which will enhance your capabilities, which will enhance your well-being and what you're feeling. Now, behind all of these things are many technologies, which of course we're observing. We know that there's a whole set of very intricate technologies which have been finding a lot of use in a lot of technology systems. We know about the piezoelectric layers, which Richard mentioned earlier, as transparent OLEDs. We know about self-healing paints. Probably a lot of us sleep on smart foams that take on the shape of our body and allow us to be more comfortable. But we would like to take a little different view because we tend to be so technological here at BMW that it's time that we turn a little bit toward you and take another tack on this. And a lot of these materials which we use usually affect you quite unconsciously. You approach the car, you experience it, you appreciate it, and after a while, it just becomes part of your experience that you don't really notice anymore. And we wonder, how is it contributing to your well-being, to your safety, and to the way you feel about things? And through your senses, we see one of the very important ways of looking at materials, a new way, which is not what technological function do they bring, but which of the senses can we address, and with what result for the way you perceive a product. And this brings us into a realm of conscious stimulation. We want you to be able to experience the materials in a way where you say, I realize what it's doing for me, I realize it's taking care of me. Now, bringing together technologies, the senses through which you experience them, you are at the center of our concern, and we try more and more to think about what are your needs in the product, what are the things that you expect from the car. And I would have loved to run a survey on what you expect from the smart materials, but maybe this could be a subject of the discussion for after the talk. But before we go into this, let's deconstruct a smart material. What is a smart material rigorously speaking? Basically, in the inner circle, you have 1, 2, 3 more different kinds of materials. Materials in the sense of different substances, chemicals, or solid-state matter. Then you give them a certain structure. You put them into a foam, use them as a solid block, give them a honeycomb shape. Now, already you have some function in the material. As you know, our i3 is made of carbon fiber composites. Those are made of many layers of fibers in all different directions. And the direction of the fiber, the structure we give the material, the carbon fiber and the plastic resin, gives it a specific behavior. Now, if you want this to act, to sense what's happening and react to it, you add another extrinsic layer of functionality. You put some sensors which detect what's going on. You add some actuators which are able to modify what the material is doing or the shape it has. And between the two, you have a control. So it takes a sense, it takes a measurement of what is happening, it processes it, and then it gives a reaction. This is also what the skin does. And this is why we think the skin is maybe a nice example of a smart material. So now that we have deconstructed smart materials, let's see how we put them back together again. We start with a material. In an initial state, you take some wood or some plastic or some metal. You can add them together. You can take 2, 3, put them together. You can add them, or you can multiply them. You can bring them together in a way so that the resulting properties are much more than you would expect from just the addition of the two materials. You can also recombine them in different ways. And in the end, and that I think is the next step, is we can create some mutations. You've probably all heard about 3D printing. We are at present talking about 4D printing, parts that are printed and which, when the environment acts upon them, then change. They don't stay in the state in which you produce them, they react, and there we're talking about mutation. So we're able to, we realize, put some smartness into the material without the material having some fancy electronics and machines attached to it. That is one of the very important points we're working on. How can our designers, our engineers, put the smartness in their understanding of the materials into the product, which you will then experience through your senses? Now, let me address 5 focal points, and then we'll get back to our product. One focal point, very important to us, is multifunctional. When you bring materials together, as I said, you don't want the simple addition. You don't want a part to be designed to do just one thing. And so we're looking more and more at how something can do several different functions for you. You get more benefit, more bang for the buck out of each kilogram of material that is being used. A second focus point is to create an innovative, but also very authentic material experience. If you were looking at our new 7 Series inside, you could see these wonderful lamps and the wonderful stained glass. And if you talk to the artist, she will have told you that through a lot of the industrialization, we're losing this authenticity. And this is one of the challenges for us. How can we keep an authentic experience through the pure nature of the materials? And you see that our designers have been looking into many, many different ways of maintaining this authenticity, so that you don't get something that's artificial and that you might resist, but something that draws you in because you can relate to it. A third focus for us is a new language, a new aesthetic experience. The new technologies that are available allow us to manipulate materials and bring them into a shape which call for a new way of dealing with them. And here our designers are working much, much closer, month by month, with the engineers to see how they can bring this design language into the way we're handling technology and creating new products. One example I like is, for example, this kind of shoe, where you can print the shoe and, based on the measurement of the client, of the person who's going to be using it, put as much stiffness, as much thermal insulation, as much humidity control as you need at every single place around your body. And you can already order shoes like this nowadays. It's still in the infancy, but this is the direction in which we're going. And this won't do if it's ugly, if it just looks like a lump around your foot. You want something where the language that we express through the materials appeals to you so that you love it. We want you to love the materials. We want you to love the product through the materials. Another one is well-being. When I talk about love, it's an inside feeling, and I know we're always talking about KPIs and hard facts, but finally it's about how you feel. And the senses are the channel for you to create the emotions. The emotions are not a mental thing, it's a body thing. Emotions come through the body, and well-being comes through how your body experiences the products. We have some examples of clothing, of furniture, where the well-being is achieved through understanding you and how your body interacts with the materials with which we're building up the products. And finally, we have one focus on something called on-demand. And the on-demand is also something that's going to make your life a bit different. If you look at the cockpit, which was shown in the beginning, lots of buttons, knobs, whatever, we realize that after a while you're wondering if you're driving or if you're just busy setting things. And we have made a lot of progress in making your gestures the source of the function. You can make things happen by creating the interface as you need it. So imagine something that is very pure, very simple, like Antonio said, and when you need it, it is sensed, and there it is, and you can control it. And that is like somebody holding your hand and understanding you and being there just at the point where you need it and not there to bother you. Now, how do we integrate this into our products? There we have done a lot of work. Engineers working with designers, working with our marketing colleagues, working with an understanding, which we're trying to increase all the time, of what could be the next step in making you, or helping you, love the products which we are trying to create. And one is the Vision Future Luxury, of which the new 7 Series is one of the outcomes. And there we have worked a lot with this sensorial and interaction concept of being able to communicate with a car without having to find and push buttons and knobs. We've worked also with the comfort you get through the material. And the next step, imagine you do a long drive, your back gets a bit wet because it's hot, you're sweating. Well, ventilation, very nice, you can cool your back. How about a material where the material, without a ventilation or air conditioning system, detects that, oh, he's getting warm, she's getting a bit uncomfortable, and then alters itself in order to provide for you the comfort so that when you get out of the car, your shirt is nice and dry and you're feeling relaxed. Well, that is one of the next steps we're working on, and we hope to put into such luxury visions for the next step. Another one is the sporty side. When you're sporty, well, there's a stereotype. You like the levers and the buttons. But actually, when you're driving at a high performance, you want to be able to concentrate on what you're doing. So usually you stay with a car you know, because you know where everything is. Now, how about making it so that it's available to you without you calling for it? And there is a channel through which we are expressing this on demand, and where we think that we can bring a few functionalities through the materials which will enhance your experience, because it unloads you from having to control and allows you to concentrate on what you're doing right now, which is the pleasure in driving a car through a windy road. And finally, we have this vision connected drive, and there we went quite a way in working on the effect of light. What is the role of light? We are very sensorial beings. They're primitive senses. The smell, probably all of us can remember the smell of our parents. After 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years, that's a very primitive sense. And then we have the very evolved sense of vision. And trying to combine this, I think, is going to give you the full experience. And here, materials allow us to play with the interaction of the senses. We are trying to understand better, for example, in a car, this smell. Who was telling me earlier? I think you were telling me you can remember the smell of your dad's car, Richard. And I can too. But increasingly, people are realizing that smell that we remember, that was not healthy. Huh? That was plastics coming out of the mold. We've gone a long way. We've gone a long, long way. And for many years already, our cars have been really checked and worked over, so we make sure that there is nothing toxic in them. But if a smell stays, you remember that, and you think, oh, it smells funny, so maybe it's not healthy. So I think that we need to do what the Bible states as avoid all evil and appearance of evil. I say let's go a step farther. Let's make the car smell such that when we sit in the car, traffic jam, we're getting upset, and then the car senses this, and we're bathed in something that helps us to say, wow, I feel good anyway, no worry about the stress, let the other guys take it, and I'm just going to here come along casually and feel good and safe. So here are a few ideas we're playing with, and it's just a start. And I think you understand the best way for us to come along is when we're going to talk with you, when we're going to understand what you need, what you want to feel safer, to feel taken care of. And this taking care of, we at BMW are going to do it through materials. Thank you very much.